What was it that made this company one of the examples of how it can be done? What was it that made it so they didn't just get stuck like everybody else, you would say?
It had executive support from the top. So they started to see organic rise, and then they started to see a plummet, and then they made technical changes, and it completely, or they saw it rise, and then it plateaued. Then they made some technical changes, and they saw their organic traffic just completely plummet. Um, they couldn't necessarily they couldn't necessarily attribute that to how much revenue are we losing, and so from the top down, they it hadn't been done. You know,
Mm-hmm.
instead of us trying to force the timeline, they were definitely forcing the timeline on us,
Mm-hmm.
which I don't mind at all. Right? It's much easier to do that than always backing on. Oh, client deliverables were coming in fast. If we didn't have to wait for them to get things done because everyone was aligned that this is basically top priority. And I'd say that's with any project. If you do not have the executive support, then that means, because we rely so heavily on various teams, whether it be developers, engineers, whether it be, finance to actually get, revenue data, if they don't see the importance, then our requests consistently get, oh, I got busy on this, I got busy on that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and as you know, from a client services perspective, in a way, that's always our fault, because we need to push them and we need to push them and remind them, but we have no control over it. We usually still get blamed for it. How come this isn't on time? You said you'd have it 2 weeks ago. Well, we were supposed to have this 2 weeks ago. No, that. Okay. So yeah, executive support, period.
Mm-hmm.
The
Amazing.
technology is easy, and then also all that. Once you get that, you can also propose various scopes as well. So, do you want to go massive here and use these various tools, et cetera, or do you want to start small? What is your overall? And so you don't always have to think of that mindset of, let me kind of just do a simple POC.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So based on that example or other examples, from your point of view of an agency owner with an implementation team, what kind of professions or areas of expertise need to be involved? I'm thinking about the team members because, hiring an agency um, is a good solution when you find the right one and when you need to do a project that you don't have competence for yet. So who was involved on the client side for you? What kind of roles and what kind of roles on your
Oh,
side?
client side, good question.
Both.
So I'll start with the client side. Okay. So they have their own data engineer who kind of wrangled the internal business intelligence data. That's where applications, application loan status, revenue, all of that comes in, right? So had to pull that all in and work with them internally on that. Then they have their own, and then their SEO manager that they just hired. She was the one that really created the requirements and the scope, if you will. And then her boss, who's director of marketing and growth, is I think his title. Um, it's on our website as a testimonial. But he was the leadership on the project, but then he was reporting to basically the CEO of where this project is at.
Mm-hmm. Nice. And on your side, on the agency
Yep.
side?
So then on our side, we have a data engineer that did the data wrangling, SQL work, joins, etc. We had a reporting and dashboard guy that then kind of started to make it look good. Then we have the tech lead that kind of speaks the good talk and not the not the geek talk. And then we have a project manager. I guess you could say you have me from executive support on our end, and then our project manager.
Mm-hmm. How involved do you get in projects these days?
Depends on how the project and the client's going. So
Yeah.
right now I'm heavily involved in one client because it's a bad case. They basically have, well, we're on our fifth contact, but now we're working with completely new people. There's absolutely zero historical knowledge at all. We're acting as their historical knowledge. Um, but also their executives are just kind of going haywire and basically taking notes from Doge and just saying, no more vendors. And they're like, we fire these guys and shit's just going to start breaking. We're not going to have any attribution. We're not going to know it all. We're like, okay, well, we'll expand it. And then we got past that expansion. And like, we're still not ready. And so, but it's kind of like a lot of pressure. So we have to keep on kind of like building up there.
Yeah.
And then another one, actually, it's this particular client, is this, we're utilizing this model more and more. Now we're bringing in competitive intelligence based upon SEMrush data, et cetera. I'm kind of staying on that one because it's so important,
Yeah.
and it's fun
Cool.
as hell. I don't
Okay.
really
Okay.
understand half of it, but I understand the value and the output. It's really fun.
Yeah. And what I'm also hearing is that um, their internal data engineer helped you wrangle their transaction data, the customer status data. So it
And then
comes
we did
down.
the Amplitude, Google Search Console, and now SEMrush.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Nice. Through APIs, some of them?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and stored
Mhm.
all in BigQuery.
Yeah, the idea of integrating your CRM into your marketing measurement is so key and it comes
Crucial.
up a lot, but a lot of times it doesn't happen because of the silos I've experienced.
Or they don't know how it's happening. You know what I mean? Like, it has an attribution field. Okay, well, was that the last time they visited, the first time they visited? I have no idea what attribution means in Salesforce kind of thing. Um, yeah,
Hmm. Hmm.
I mean, not our clients, they know it, but others.
Hmm. So part of what
And
you
I'd say
do,
that's a lot of work that we do, right? Like when we come on board, it's integrating, the other marketing channels with their CRM. So you can understand from a contact standpoint, how the hell did we get these guys? Or how do they continue to communicate with us as well?
when you try and set up great attribution, what are your favorite tools for the measurement? You mentioned Amplitude. You can also tell me about some alternatives. And what about the CRM that you find to be good at integrating with marketing measurement?
Sure. Still good old GA4, right? Like anything else are just hacking based upon that technology. It's proven, and the challenge only becomes a darn good implementation. And darn good implementations really aren't that hard. Once you start involving segment, I don't think it's a great attribution tool, necessarily. So we've not gone too terribly much really beyond that. As the attribution tool. Now that being said, I will say, let me expand on that and say we use GA4 data, right? We use the event stream that goes into BigQuery, and that's how we utilize all of our attribution data, because it's almost always is then connected to either their CRM or their internal business intelligence data, et cetera. So yeah, and we can run our own models based upon that, use Google's models. Yeah. And we have the entire stream. We can do, multi-touch user journeys, the whole bit.
Hmm. Okay, cool, cool. And for the CRM, I guess you work with Salesforce a lot.
We work with Salesforce, we work with HubSpot. Um, I'd say those are actually the two kind of main ones.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, I bet. Okay.
They're trying to think of the other one clients. I think the other two are using some more like proprietary kind of deal. So
Mhm. Okay. And now, Thomas, um, let's talk about something that could get an analytics professional on the team raise. Let's talk about how they could get into the position of leading more. And what Mike Rizzo, the founder of the Marketing Ops community, told me in a similar interview was that you want to get to the why of why you're measuring certain things. So, your measurement plan, the beginning of it, the vision, the measurement strategy, let's say. Um, I would like to talk about that some more because I find that people, especially technical professionals, often get tasked with stuff that could be
yeah, great.
even even micromanaged. Like do this and this. Like they get a list, and maybe it's even a hiring interview, and they get asked, "How would you complete this and this and this measurement task?" And they can answer that if they have the experience, right? You say those are the easier parts, uh, but you need to lead with the why. And it sounds like a cliche, but it's true. Um,
Yeah, but yeah. Sorry,
Yeah, if you can please
I
speak
can't wait
to
to give you
some.
my answer.
Yes, please. Okay, so if you can please speak to some of your experience with transitioning from the checklist to the why of why we're doing this, and then using that to save time, generate more revenue because the measurement is better. Let's speak to the why of measurement, please.
Tell me, don't tell me. Period. And that's our mantra this year, actually, at Mesh Metrics. Show the client, don't tell them. And that's, show them why. But again, don't even tell them why. Have the presentation, make it a show, make it fun. I sang Jack and Diane a few months ago, but it was like, got a story about zip and location, two small words, but they mean two different things. And then we still talked about to this day, also had 458% increase. But and then just last week, the data engineer on the client of the case study, he's slowly transitioning into this. And I was like, he was telling me blah, 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 why something was broken. I was like, all right, I've got 30 minutes. I'm going to create a quick Canva diagram, presented that to the client. And so the client that normally just talks, asks questions, blah, blah, blah. Started off the meeting, went through it, took about 5 minutes. He's like, well, gee, Thomas, I guess I'm a kindergartner because pictures definitely, pictures help me quite a lot. And I was like, no, you're a human and pictures always help quite a lot. So not only get to the why, I think that's extremely important, but communicate that why in a way where they are now ready and motivated to take action on that why. Because an answer why is nothing without action being taken upon it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'd love to see that diagram. Uh, is it publishable or
It's
no?
just a very, let me just tell you.
Yeah, I see now.
This is why I don't like Miro very much, or Canva, any of these tools. Okay, so the before, right? So grabbing data from 5 or 4 different places, internal BI, Amplitude data, Search Console data, SEMrush. These databases, they just get the new data and they keep appending on the table, right? So day 1, day 2, day 3, day 3, day 4. BI data, though, it completely needs to refresh because, at one stage it's app loaded, at one stage it's this, so we constantly need to refresh. Someone that came in last week is updated, obviously, and now purchased. So we have to refresh the database. That happens as a snap process. That all the data wouldn't appear. The revenue data. Some of the click data would appear and some of the keyword data would appear, but none of the revenue data. Even though it was a date range, a while ago, the entire thing would break. Like, well, we don't want to have that happen. So instead, we're going to change that. So boom, out of the update, we're going to have some logic in here that if it breaks, not only do we not, or starting from the back, we're actually going to be, the data source is going to be a backup database, right? So then, if we have a successful refresh, everything's great. We refresh this all works. But if something goes wrong, we do not refresh that database. Maybe you're looking at week-old data, but that's all right. But we'll be sending an alert. That alert sends out or the email comes out, notifies the right people, they can get that fixed. But also, most importantly, this dashboard, which again is being brought up to the CEO, et cetera, won't come in one time and you go into the boardroom and dot, 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 dot. So
Nice. Nice. Thank you.
yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, kind of simple, but again, imagine trying to tell somebody that without any like illustration and everything like that. Like it doesn't land,
Yeah.
So
Even if they're smart. And that brings me to something else I wanted to talk to you about, which is how you make sure that your measurement gets used.